Now that is the basic idea of building out your own style sheet. What we want to do now is actually apply a pre-built one, because mine is pretty basic, right? I'll show you how to do that. We've actually given one to you. The file that you downloaded at the beginning of the class should have a folder within it that you'll be able to use in this case. Or if you don't have that right now, there should be a link just below the video and you can download this style sheet there as well. So if you jump into that file, you will see it is called CSS. It's a folder that's called CSS. And in here we have a few different, two different folders, and then the Visual Studio Code. That's just a free software that you'll be able to use. So it's a more user-friendly method of working with a style sheet.
Are you inferring that Notepad is not the most versatile and useful tool in the Windows toolbox?
How dare you, sir? That's slander. I actually have VS Code open right now. You may want to use it to actually browse through that fundamentals CSS that we gave you. If you do, and you look at this, you'll see the immediate advantage of using this over Notepad, because you have color wheels and things like that you can choose your colors from. It will help you parsing out the language, and just you'll get a better sense of how to edit and write this on your own if you do it that way. Something worth note, you'll see that some of these things are sort of greened out. This is called commenting. This is a really important thing in coding in general, where if you want something in your code that is legible only for human eyes, that doesn't actually get compiled as part of the code, you comment it out. You create a comment out of it. And you do that in CSS by doing this /*, and then you finish the comment by doing */ to end it. So if you, for some reason, you really wanted to make a comment that is secret, something like, I don't know, a web link that no one should ever know about, which you definitely shouldn't go to, then you could comment it out like that so that the code wouldn't read it.
The other folders that we have in here are also the Control and UCI Fundamentals folder, and then an example project that is for a different time. What we want is this Control and UCI Fundamentals folder. If we open that up, there's our style sheet. I could open that and take a look at everything in here. It's a pretty big one compared to the one that I just created, right? You can familiarize yourself with that if you want to pause the video and kind of see the different classes that are in here. There's also an images folder. So this is where you would have any kind of image or graphic that you want within the classes of your style sheet. So if you wanted some sort of graphic to be established for all of your navigation buttons, you would have it in this folder, and then you would write that out differently in your style sheet. So that's what this is for. What that means, though, is we need both of these. So what we're going to do to install this style sheet is we are going to copy it, and then we are going to install it into the Q-SYS Designer Styles folder, the one that I created my other style sheet in. So there it is. I want to copy that Control and UCI Fundamentals folder and paste it in here. OK, perfect. So now that I've done that, I'm going to jump back into Designer, and what do we got to do? We got to install it, right? Remember? Great. So we're going to jump to Tools. We're going to go to Show Design Resources. We're going to go to Available, and look, it's not there. So this can actually trip a lot of people up. It makes it look like it didn't work. That's not actually true. I already had my Design Resources tab open, so when I selected Design Resources in the Tools, it just pulled it back up, the tab itself. I actually need to reload it. So if I cancel out of the Design Resources tab, jump down here, Show Design Resources, boom, there it is. Perfect. So I'll go ahead and install that one. Ooh.
That's just efficiency in words right there.
Yeah.
I approve.
Give me a raise. OK, so I will install that style sheet. You can have multiple style sheets installed. So if I jump back to my UCI, we're still seeing the same style sheet I was using before. That's OK. I just need to now apply the right one to this UCI. So there it is, Control and UCI Fundamentals. Select that, and we're set. You'll notice now that it has gone back to what the UCI looked like when we first started working with these style sheets. Nothing has changed. The reason for that is because this style sheet actually doesn't have any global changes within it. Everything is a class within the style sheet, which means that we, have to go through and apply the classes to the specific parts that they match with. Let's start with the displays button. If you select that and then go to CSS class name, you're going to get a big long list. There are a lot of classes in this style sheet. It might be helpful if you were to pause right now, take a look at a few of them, get a hang of where everything is. And that way, once you start adding other pieces, you'll know you have a class for that and you can go apply it. So for displays, we're looking at the navigation buttons. There you should see a bunch of main underscore something. Here's main nav displays. Perfect. I'll apply that. All right. That means we have a little monitor. Okay, that's perfect. Let's see. With cameras, main nav camera. They gave us a camera. This makes sense. Our end user is going to understand what that is. Then main lights. Okay, we called it room control. It's lights here. Okay, so we've hit that, and now our navigation buttons are graphics that will light up when they are selected. Perfect. Let's see. We've probably got a few more. Our fader probably has one. I'll go to main fader. Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, we probably have one for this mute button as well. Let's see, that is going to be main speaker mute. That's a bit small right now. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Whoa, yeah, all right. I'll get that centered back right here, cool. All right, now, I don't know about you, but this background doesn't quite work particularly with the way these icons are set. We kind of lose them with the brightness of the background. Well, there's actually a way that you can establish a background with a class. Where you're actually going to do this is on the page, that one page we have that everything is on. There's a class name for the page. So go ahead and select your page, head to page main. Immediately, it kind of gives me an idea of where things can be sitting on the page. Now that I have sort of this upper and lower margin, I might want to maybe reposition my navigation buttons so they sit within that space a little bit better. You'll find what works best for you as you start playing around with it. We don't want to forget about our headers, right? If we look at our header now, you can barely see them with this new background. So we're going to want to make some changes to the headers as well. We also have classes that are specific to text, so we can actually use classes just to change these instead of having to go into each one. I probably want it to pop a bit more, so I'll do text color white. It's the header, so I want it to be big, bold, so I'll use text size large. That's another good point. You can apply multiple classes to any control or text.
Yeah, and remember, if you want to change anything like the font, the color, anything that the CSS can govern, you only have to do that in one place rather than going into each of those UCIs and doing that laborious task maybe 100 times.
Already this is looking quite a bit different from its original form. And that was all done just using a few clicks of the mouse, right? Instead of having to go through, find the right color, establish that, go through, find the right graphic, all of that's been done for us with the style sheet already. As we move through the rest of the class, start establishing control, putting different controls on our UCI, keep in mind, we'll have plenty of different classes that we'll want to apply for those new controls as we go on. So we'll probably be going back to that quite a few times, but for now, I think this is everything that we can make a change to. One last thing that I want to point out before we move on to actually diving a bit more into control is you'll notice that you can switch between the two style sheets that you have right now. I can jump back to this other one. You might freak out and think, oh no, I lost everything that I just did with the big one, the one that we're going to be using, the really good one. Well, you didn't. It keeps those changes so you can switch between the two different style sheets. What that means is we're not going to be using it, but I think it's helpful to point out while there's a UCI layer controller, there's also a UCI style controller. And if we open that up, that actually gives us some buttons that allow us to switch between the currently applied and installed style sheets. We could throw these buttons here onto a UCI and allow the end user to switch between different kinds of style sheets. So maybe a daytime mode and a nighttime mode, or even different languages. So this is really useful. We're not going to use it for this class particularly, but I do want to point it out because there's a lot of creativity that you can get here just with being able to switch between different styles. All right, so that's it for our CSS portion. We've kind of gone over how to create one, very limited, albeit. And then we've gone over how to install one that somebody's already made for us, how to apply them, or install them and apply them, and then going through and adding all of the different, applying the different classes to our pieces. So we're ready to move on. We're going to get into the control portion next. So I'll see you there.